pre-planning?
To an extent, although, I mean, I guess, you know, once their heart is set on, you know, throwing Molotov cocktails or whatever, it just takes access to some petrol, really, to get that going. You can see the flames are still burning on that building.
Yeah, indeed. You were talking about the difficulty they had in getting into the area last night. I mean, had police lost control at one stage?
It would be fair to say that they certainly weren't in control for a significant proportion of the evening. To some extent, the rioters were contained in the High Road area, but they were in a direct confrontation with the police officers.
Well, we can see there, I mean, just what, about a mile up the road there, little damage there. So obviously it was concentrated in that main shopping area there.
Yeah, well, there are
well, there we are. There's another burnt-out building there on the corner.
That's the building that we saw the ferocious blaze in from the shots that we were showing a little earlier. I'm not quite sure what type of building that is. It looks like it may be some kind of commercial premises, but that's just completely lost now, obviously.
Now, going back to the timeline of events where Thursday we had this shooting and the arrest taking place. Now, this was part of Operation Trident, which is looking at what they term to be black-on-black crime.
Yes, I mean...
and it indicates that this was a very active area for them at the moment.
Yeah, very much so. That area is one where there is a particular problem with gun crime, particularly in the black community. That's what Trident is tasked with doing. It's been operational for many years now and has had some successes, but it's a very difficult task. As I say, there is still a lot of mistrust of the police within these communities. Now, this was an operation at nearby Tottenham Hale. They were tracking a suspect, 29-year-old Mark Duggan, who's someone that was known to the police. They wanted to arrest him. The Trident team were working on that day in conjunction with CO19, the armed division of the Metropolitan Police. It was their specialist firearms officers. These are the same officers who, you'll remember, shot dead the innocent Brazilian Jean-Charles de Menezes. So there is a controversial past that they have as well. But they were involved in that operation. They stopped this taxi that this individual was in. There was an exchange of gunfire. A police officer was shot. He escaped serious injury because the bullet lodged in his radio.
And they've recovered that.
Yeah, but police returned fire and shot this 29-year-old man dead.
But looking at what happened then with this march, which seems to have started the events leading to last night from Broadwater Farm, certainly David Lammy, the local MP, has reflected that these people had started to march in protest at the events and saying what they said... something has to be done. The marchers wanted justice for the family. That's a friend of Mr. Duggan who'd spoken to us.
Yeah, and just before I answer that, you can see right in the middle of the road there a concerted effort, obviously, to put up a barricade to stop the police advance any further in the building just to the right there, which has pretty much been gutted as well. But, yeah, that protest outside the police station there, they were demanding answers from the police. Of course, the difficulty the police have is that they can't speak publicly on this incident now because it's being investigated by the Independent Police Complaints Commission, and they are the only ones that can talk or give answers to the community. And interestingly, as this was all erupting last night, the Independent Police Complaints Commission put out an urgent statement just to try to reassure the community that they were doing all they could to get answers for them as quickly as possible. But the difficulty is they're still collating statements, trying to get an accurate idea of the timeline and whether it was Mr. Duggan that shot at the police first or whether the police shot him initially. That will be sorted in time. You've got lots of angry people in this community who don't want to wait for that. They wanted to vent their anger last night, and you can see they've done that in spectacular style.
And, of course, the anger that some may feel at how events unfolded last night as well. Well, certainly it's now looking in this particular area as if it's a job for the fire crews rather than the police. I don't think we've seen many police officers here this morning at this particular area. What will be happening now in terms of the police operation? I guess there will be some kind of CCTV cameras here, given this is a major thoroughfare, major shopping area.
Yeah, that's one thing they'll be doing, is obviously pouring through that CCTV footage to try to identify individuals. That will be happening in tandem.
Here we can see the number of police vehicles further down, some of these having been set on fire last night, of course.
Yeah, well, Scotland Yard told me there's still a massive police presence there. It has not been scaled back because this is still an ongoing incident. Although we can't see it here, there are sporadic pockets of trouble further off Tottenham High Road in towards the housing estates as well. That's the police car, one of the police cars there that was burnt out by the protesters in the early stages of this incident outside the police station.
Now, we've got 8 police officers injured, 1 with head injuries. Have we had any further update from the yard on how badly they might have been hurt?
Well, the word I'm hearing is not life-threatening. One officer, perhaps more seriously injured, with head injuries, was taken directly to hospital. Other officers were treated at the scene and then transferred to hospital after they were treated by their own medics. That's still being assessed. It may be, as the medics report back, that there are other injuries to report. London Ambulance Service say they took a total of 9 people to hospital during the course of these protests, which I say have the significant disturbances have certainly subsided, but there are still these pockets, and that's why, you know, you still got a very significant police presence there on Tottenham High Road. But in addition to Tottenham High Road, I don't know if at some point the camera will be able to take a look further around
Green,
this area.
I think, was one area that suggested
towards that area.
Yeah.
There's a housing estate just off Tottenham High Road as well, where a number of vehicles were torched and some of the properties around there were set ablaze.
Now, one of the features certainly that David Akinsanya, who's one of our paper reviewers here and indeed lives in this area, he was estimating that some of the children seen there were as young as, what, 8, 10 years old that were being involved in this. Yeah,
I mean, there were some very young children just getting caught up, and in addition to young children, teenagers, what you had as well were, you know, numbers of people who had been on a typical Saturday night out in the local pubs, spilling out from there, coming along to see what was happening.
Pretty volatile mix.
And getting caught up in it to some extent.
But will there now have to be a serious question for Boris Johnson, the Mayor, and the members of the police authority about relationships between these inner-city communities and police? I mean, these are scenes we've not seen for, what, 25 years or more?
Yeah, I mean, even if you compare this to the likes of the student riots that we got at the back end of last year, these scenes, in terms of the actual damage that has been caused, far worse than that. And the difference, of course, with the student riots is that was, you know, it was a political issue. They were venting their frustration at the tuition fees increase. Here we have a real issue with significant elements of the local community with mistrust and, you know, downright hatred of the police. And what is very difficult for the police, and what will be difficult for the police in the hours ahead, is they've got to show a presence there. They've got to try to keep that community safe, but they know as well, showing a presence...
Just to say, that's the off-licence there. We heard from that chap inside the off-licence there where they were trying to get in to... perhaps try to loot that. Now, that's the bus, I think, or what's left of that double-decker bus. That's an extraordinary picture.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was, you know, the image late last night that we were showing. Of course, our camera position, everyone else's camera position, for safety reasons, was further up.
But you could see, I mean, the flames leaping about 50 feet in the air from that bus.
Yeah.
And this is one of the features of these incidents in these inner-city areas that people can't quite understand, is that they obviously turn on their own community in a way, and it's the local services, the local shops and local businesses that suffer.
Yeah, and there was huge looting that took place, and it's still taking place. Scotland Yard told me that there's a retail park in particular, which is not too far from Tottenham High Road, which has just been absolutely ransacked by people from that local community that have gone.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is on Tottenham High Road itself, but
and people literally carrying away rolls of carpet and rugs.
Yeah, and actually just the bizarre sights like this, you know, filling his shopping trolley with the bargains of the day, which clearly he hasn't paid for, and just wheeling it down Tottenham High Road with bemused people just standing looking on. And at that stage, of course, the police were not intervening to stop the looting because they didn't want to exacerbate the situation, and because there was very serious disorder at that time. The priority is to try to bring calm to the disorder before you look at the kind of the lower level criminality likes of looting shops.
Yeah, let's just give you an update from Commander Stephen Watson at the Metropolitan Police. As you say, Mark, not any detail about the numbers, but a significant number of police officers being deployed. Our people are very well trained and led. We're exercising contingency plans which are well rehearsed, he said earlier. Our intention to restore calm and normality to the area as soon as possible. Again, confirming, as you said, Mark, there would be arrests for criminal offences, but those were coming second to preserving public safety. We've also heard from the Commissioner, Rachel Siffentine, of the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Their statement saying they understood the distress that the shooting of Mark Duggan had caused to the family and the community, and that people needed answers about what had happened. And I think, indeed, they'd supported some 14 family members yesterday in formally identifying Mr. Duggan's body, and they're having further meetings with his family today. They say we're still gathering evidence and will release further details about our progress with the investigation as soon as we can. So, I mean, two issues, really, for those in charge, if you like, on both sides, to try and tell the story of Thursday night and then what led to this last night.
Yeah, I mean, what they want to do, what they're desperate to do, is to try to bring some calm to that area of North London. And as I say, the difficulty or the real concern will be in the hours ahead. It may be that looking at the sheer level of destruction that there has been in large parts of Tottenham, particularly around the High Road there, that people will be taking a step back, and they will be so shocked that, you know, perhaps that will bring a level of calm and, you know, some more clear thinking to the people that have been involved. But it could equally just go the other way.
Mark, thank you for the moment. You're watching Sunrise. Just to remind you of the headlines: 8 police officers in the hospital, 1 with head injuries after petrol bombs were thrown, patrol cars, a bus and buildings set on fire in Tottenham. This is the scene this morning. We'll have the latest for you live and reaction as we get it.